Hello everyone, this is Eagle and welcome back in Steel Division 2. As usual, we are reviewing the tank divisions of the Soviet Army. So today we are talking about the 29th Tank Corps, and I remember that the 29th Tank Corps was one of the first divisions added to the game. In fact, it was the first division, and I remember playing it in beta phase against the 5th Panzer Division, which was also the only division added from the German side. So Eugene says here that this tank corps was organized as a standard corps, and it had mostly T-34 85 model, and it has also some British Valentine as recon. Also it used of Lend-Lease in place of Su-76 tank destroyers, so those Lend-Lease like M10, and it had some allied planes as well, like the A-20 Boston and B-39 Air Cobra, and of course it had also an IS-2. And it says here that the weakness of this division is basically the AA defense, but it has good anti-tank support. Now, when we did some research about this division, we found that the 29th Tank Corps was actually established or formed in February 1943, and the corps was serving the entire war. And it was part of the 5th Guard Tank Army during Operation Bagration. It did have some Lend-Lease equipments, tanks and extra, but it definitely had also Su-76 tank destroyers, or at least they had them as self-propelled artillery, which is missing in this division by Eugene. So it also had lots of other artillery equipment, which is also still missing in the implementation of this division here, such as the 122 millimeter howitzers, which are not present in the game. I found some sources also which says that this division had actually ISU 152, which all of these equipment are key equipment to the success of this division or the gameplay on this division. That is why I consider that the implementation of this division is somehow semi-accurate in perspective of historical accuracy. I also found some sources actually which says that this division never had an AA defense, but again I found other sources which says otherwise, and I think Eugene is trying to compensate this here by saying it had a weak AA defense. So I'm not really sure how this actually reflects in terms of historical accuracy, but anyway, most of other things found in this division are actually historically accurate. So Eugene did a really good job so far implementing those divisions, and most of what we reviewed so far is at least have some historical accuracy. So enough talking, and let's jump to the division to see how did we configure or how did we set up the division before the game. So I had a very interesting game using this division, and as it turns out the performance of this division in gameplay is really good. It's not as bad as the previous divisions which we reviewed so far. I played with it as balanced, and I met a guy who was a good player actually, and he was playing the new Maverick income. Also, this is the new balanced income because this is played after the recent changes to the income, to the deployment type. in Balanced and Maverick. So they decreased phase B by 5 points in Balanced, and then they also decreased Maverick by 5 points in phase A. As I said before, I still think that this is in favor of Maverick actually. But anyway, let's review the division, or how did we set up the division here, and then have a look to the game and how it went. So the usual standard recon, which is found on every other division, or most of the divisions that we reviewed so far. So I got the Razvedka in phase A, and then I added this Su-57, which is a very light anti-tank recon vehicle, if that's what we can call it. It has a 57mm on top of it, which has good penetration, so that's why it's also cheap, so that's why I like to take it if it's available. And I took another Razvedka card in phase B. In the infantry tab, still also the same standard infantry, which can be found as a copy based on most of other tank divisions. The only difference here that it had better slots or better availability due to the increased number of slots, and I tried to make use of that by using all the slots. So I added one card of manned units, and this is a very cheap unit, and then I added one Streleki for long range fight, long and medium range fight, one Tanko Disaniki. I cannot pronounce that name for some reason, it's pretty difficult, but as I said before, it's good for close range combat, and it's always good to take some close range combat in phase A, and also mix between the close range and the long range units. In phase B, I took 2 cars of Sabiri, which are actually good in medium and close combat as well, and I added one card of Streleki, which has this BTR as an anti-tank rifle. And then I added another card in phase C, just to have enough amount of infantry. Here I added the IS-2 for sure, but in 1 versus 1 you don't want to pick lots of heavy tanks, because they are pretty expensive and you will not actually find it possible to bring all of them. So that's why I bring only one tank in phase A, supported by some T-34s model 1943, and then in phase B I added another IS-2, 3 tanks, and one card of T-34-85. And then I like, as I said, to keep spare tanks, so that's why I added another card of T-34s in phase C. And I think this would be more than enough in 1 versus 1 combat. Here there is no much in this tab, in support tab, so I just added the flamethrowers team, Maxim machine gun, and some support gun, and I added a commandant and one card of supply trucks. The anti-tank tabs has more to offer here, so I added the BTRS, which comes on very fast motorcycle, and I added 2 cards of the ZES 257mm, which is really a good anti-tank gun. It has a penetration of 185mm, comes with an ABCR shells, so it's really a must to take equipment. And then I started to actually evaluate if I should take the M10 or I should take the SU-85, but I choose the SU-85 because it has ABCR shells which can have 180 millimeter penetration. I preferred to take the SU-85 in this case. Anti-air. So Eugene says here that the anti-air is a bit weak, but I actually find it okay because it has the 37 millimeter anti-air Zen Art, the anti-air gun. So I added the 25 millimeter in phase A, and then I added another card of 37 millimeter in phase B, and I could have done the opposite. I could have added another Zen Art 37 millimeter in phase B or in phase A, but I thought that this is enough, and we will test this in the next game actually, because my opponent used air support a lot in the coming game, so these actually were more than enough to suppress his air units. The artillery in this tab has some pretty good equipment, so the mortar is a must, so that's why I took the mortar in this tab. I also took the off-map artillery, and this is not a very strong off-map artillery, and that's probably why it has lots of availability in phase B, which has the 76 millimeter howitzer gun, but it becomes useful sometimes if you wanna push the enemy from some area that you are desperately trying to take, or desperately trying to drive the enemy out. And here I took one card of the ZIS 376 millimeter, which is good artillery. I did not take anything more, so here I added one card of the B39 in Cobra, which has a good speed and it has also a good agility, and it can work as a fighter actually and close air support, and it has some light rockets to fire, so that's why I took it in phase A. And then I added one heavy bombers A20 Boston. All of these are actually a Lend-Lease equipment. Then I added the B39 15 Cobra, which is a really good fighter. It has 585 kilometer speed, which is really good, and it has good agility, or an okay agility, if we can say. Someone might say that you could also take it in another vet and increase the agility, but it had low availability with only 2 fighters, so I prefer to take the whole 4 fighters. And that was basically it. That is how I configured this division. Let's move on and see how did I do in a battle. I'm playing against a player called Bradlee, and he is one of the good players. I am playing with the 29th Tank Corps, and he is playing with the 10th Guard Tank Corps. So as I said, I'm playing with the 29th Tank Corps and he's playing with the 10th Guard Tank Corps, and I'm not actually a big fan of the 10th Guard Tank Corps. I think it's not one of the good divisions in the game. But anyway, let's see how this game went. He is playing in red on the right side, and I am playing with blue on the left side. and he's having the new Maverick income, and I'm playing with the new balanced income. So let's see how he actually did with his Tengar tank corps, and was I able to fight him and hold. So one thing I noticed that he started with really lots of vetted troops, which most of the experienced players do when they pick a weak division, basically trying to compensate this by having lots of vetted troops. And most of the Soviet players actually use that tactics or use that strategy. So he brought one vetted Panther A in phase A. He did not do any advance in this area. Did not put any troops, so I could have actually rushed over here. But let's see. He has his anti-air ready. Two commanders, one commandant. No special troops in this area. So as I said, he's playing Maverick, and that means that he needs to push hard in order to win the game in early phase A or phase B as maximum. His Panther is able to spot my units in this area from far, so that's why I withdraw this Su-57 back. Now I started deploying some mortars, trying to attack his Zen Art anti-air. And he spams now some recon planes. These are pretty cheap, pretty slow recon planes, but they really do good job in revealing the area for the enemy. So I had to take them out as fast as I can. So let's see. They also have the capability to throw some light bombs, which really disturb your front. So I have an anti-air here, which actually suppressed this, but I don't have anything here. But the anti-air actually range is very good. It's able to suppress it. But will I be able to destroy it? Yes, and I got his Yak 1B. He did not expect me to have two anti-air placed in this area. But from past experience, I know that this hill is very strategic, and once you get it, you actually deny access to the middle as well. So that's why I placed two anti-air units here. Again, he's deploying another light recon. He lost his tank here as well, and all of his moving units here are getting destroyed by this Razvedka, and that's why I like the Razvedka unit. They have a bazooka which has a really good range. Now in response to his Panther, I'm trying to deploy an IS-2 because I think what is he going to try to do now is to block this road by the Panther. This front is pretty quiet and pretty calm. Most of the fight in here. Again, he is having another light recon. He's really spamming recon planes. And deploying one IL-2 tank buster or rocket anti-tank planes to destroy, I think, my IS-2, but it was suppressed by my anti-air, trying to destroy it by the B-39 Cobra, but his anti-air is also able to suppress my fighter. And he's trying to target my anti-air from far. Again, another light plane. And finally, he is able to destroy one of the anti-air units. Another IL-2 coming. And an interesting fight here between the IS-2 and the Panther. Let's see if the IL-2 will get the Panther, the IS-2. Yeah, but it was suppressed. He was able to knock out the shooter, but the tank is still intact, which is the most important thing. I'm trying to attack his anti-air here. He now has two tanks, one tank destroyer Su-85 and one T-5 Panther. And again, he's targeting my anti-air from this side. I mean, this hill, it becomes really challenging to place the anti-air, because whenever you are trying to place the anti-air, there is always the possibility that it can be found. So I'm pushing my IS-2. And one of the strange things here, that actually my IS-2 weapons were closed for some reason. I did not do that, and I missed a great opportunity of killing this T-34 from here. And now he's trying to flank my IS-2. The moment I realized this, I also opened the weapons. So now I'm trying to push the Su-57 and the IS-2 to counter this tank, which the main purpose of it is to destroy the anti-air and probably the mortar. So he got one of the mortars already, but I was able to destroy him. That is why I like the Su-57. It's a really good anti-tank and recon at the same time. He still has his Panther here, the Su-85, and he also has another T-34 76 coming this way. and that's why I'm pushing another tank in this area. So he has his Su-85 here. He was able to take out my T-34 using the Panther. And he fired at another mortar that I'm bringing. So an Su-85 and Panther trying to attack the IS-2. The IS-2 has a high loading rate, so he uses the Panther back and forth. One of the things that is not realistic here, which I mentioned it before, is related to the Panther. The Panther is really slow in reverse speed in reality, but this is not implemented in the game. They deal with the Panther as a high maneuverable tank, but if we go to historical records, the Panther maybe had a good speed in forward, but it had a really slow speed in reverse, and thanks to this maneuver he was able to destroy the IS-2 using the Panther and the Su-85. He now deployed one Katyusha or one BM-31 rocket launchers. And I deployed more anti-air. So losing the IS-2 is really bad loss. I still has more flags than him, and I advanced it to vehicles here, trying to take this flag. He has only one unit here, which makes me think that if I had pushed this way I might have finished the game. Most of his troops are concentrated in this area. And he is pushing another recon plane and two anti-tank planes, one rocket and one tank buster. But I am waiting for him with my anti-air. So he could not do any damage to the T-34, and I have two Su-85s coming here as well. My M2 vehicle is targeting his units on the bridge. So far he's not able to make any push, and we are in phase B and at minute 14, so it's really imperative for him or important for him that he start pushing, because once he finish phase B he loses his advantage. I think he realizes this. Now started to use his Katyusha, firing at the anti-air, of course. He was able to destroy one of the anti-air units, and now pushing his light bombers. I'm targeting his Katyusha with artillery and mortars, trying to destroy it, hopefully. He now deploys a tiger and he has his panther still. He also has a mortar here, which is trying to target what is left. Of my anti-air. Interesting fight here between two Su-85s, and yes, he destroyed one and I destroyed the other. Deploying another IL-2. And I am deploying more anti-air. And he is targeting the Su-85 and he was able to destroy it before I destroy him. He's spamming lots of air units. And I finally got the Katyusha using the artillery. And I think I started to prepare some units to do a push here. He started to push in this area. Using advantage of phase B, but he's not making very good progress. So far I'm able to counter his units. I think he lost his Panther as well. And he lost his T-34 here. Yeah, so he's approaching phase C, and yeah, he decided actually to leave. He thought that he's not making any progress. Well, one of the things that I noticed about top players, that they always do that trick. I mean, once they feel that the game is lost, they just leave. At least this guy said good game and he just left. But some others, they just leave after the first 5 minutes if they found themselves losing the game. But anyway, he had some good kills. It's almost the same or very close to my kills as well. Let's see. So his Panther destroyed really good amount of units. He got the IS-2, which is most important, and he got another T-34 and one anti-tank gun. The this T-34 also, which he pushed it to my line, he was able to get one of the anti-air and one mortar as well. Another T-34 destroyed some light mechanized vehicles, M2A1s. Other than this, there is no special thing happened here. He relied heavily on air, but the anti-air was good enough to suppress his air units. Let's see my kills. So also nothing is unusual. The Rasvitka here did really good job destroying advancing units, destroyed the T-34 and two light vehicles. Anti-air was able to destroy and suppress his planes. He spammed lots of recon planes and they were destroyed. This 257mm really did a good job destroying the Panther, the only Panther that he had in the game, and destroying also T-34 and some light vehicles. Anti-air, destroying Yak-1B at the beginning of the game. The Su-57 destroyed some T-34 tanks, and this Razvedka also was able to get his T-34. In general, I found that playing with the 29th Tank Corps was a really good experience. It was not as bad as I thought. Actually, I thought that this division will have less performance, but it turns out that it has better performance than the other divisions on most of the other divisions that we reviewed so far. Thanks everybody for watching, and see you in another review for another division.